Welcome to the MidiEngine Broadcasters 2.1 Advanced Tutorial. Get hands-on with this epic Mega Grant Award-winning plugin for rhythm games. By the end of this tutorial, you'll know how to use its most advanced feature, the support of multiple playheads for playback. Before diving in, it's recommended that you've gone through our introductory tutorial, as we'll be building on the features introduced there. If you've missed it, find the link in the description below. Let's get started. We'll begin with a basic demonstration. Each time a MIDI note from a kick track plays, we want our sphere to alternate between hitting the blue cubes. For this setup, we've simply copied the two target locations into variables in the blueprint. For the actual movement of the sphere itself, we simply used the function moveComponentTo, with a time of 0.5 seconds. This means that the sphere will take 0.5 seconds to arrive at its target location after being triggered by a MIDI note. Before we delve into the playheads, let's observe the results with our current default setup. Everything seems functional, but it's not quite achieving our desired effect. Keep in mind, our objective is for the sphere to make contact with the cube precisely at the moment the kick strikes. In our current configuration, the sphere begins its motion when the kick plays, but it takes 0.5 seconds to reach its target. This means it's half a second late by the time it touches the cube. Let's observe that again. Now, you might be wondering how we can fix this. Well, we should modify the MIDI asset playhead to trigger the MIDI notes 0.5 seconds in front of the audio. This means our sphere will start moving 0.5 seconds before the kick drum sound is heard, striking the blue cubes at the exact moment we want it to. Now let's see how to set that up. On your MIDI Broadcaster Components Details panel, you'll find a section to set up your playheads. Navigate down until you find the default playhead entry. Next, set the time offset to 0.5 seconds. Remember, our sphere takes 0.5 seconds to reach its target, so we use 0.5 seconds here. Perfect, now let's test it out. Lovely. But you may be wondering, can't I use multiple playheads? The answer is yes. You can add multiple playheads and they will all work seamlessly. To demonstrate this, let's take a look at a more advanced example. We had two goals here. 1. To have the right foot hit the ground each time the hi-hat sound is heard. And 2. To trigger a Niagara particle system each time the hi-hat sound is heard. For goal 2, we could have used anim notifies, but we instead used multiple playheads so that you can get a better understanding of them. Let's take a look at the blueprint setup. In the Broadcaster Components Playheads configuration, we've introduced an additional playhead while maintaining the default without an offset. The playheads variable is an array, allowing you to add or remove playheads, each having a unique offset. Our new playhead is named Playhead with Offset, serving as its ID. We're assigning this playhead an offset of 0.5 seconds because in our animation sequence, the foot touches the ground at the 0.5 second mark. We've retained the default playhead without an offset as it will be utilized to activate the Niagara system in the actor or listener blueprint. We've added two MIDI listener components. One is aligned with the playhead that has an offset, and the other listens to the default playhead. To ensure our MIDI listeners are only listening to one playhead, we utilize the MIDI filter settings found in the Details panel. Recall that we designated the ID, Playhead with Offset, to our second playhead. By inputting this playhead's ID into our MIDI filter, we're effectively binding this MIDI listener component exclusively to that specific playhead. The ID for the other playhead is default playhead, and similarly, we link it to its respective MIDI listener. Now let's take a look at the blueprint nodes for the note on events. For the offset listener, we simply call the function, play animation, on the skeletal mesh, when the MIDI note is coming from the hi-hat track. For the default listener, we simply call spawn system at location, and pass in the right foot's location. We did the same for all other characters or metahumans, and to demonstrate how fast MidiEngine is, we'll add all of them to the scene. Good job for staying engaged throughout. We're excited to see your MidiEngine-powered app or rhythm game making waves in the App Stores soon. Check out the download link in the description. Best of luck!